Resident Evil 4 Remake producer has good news about the game's length. The producer of the upcoming Resident Evil 4 Remake reveals about how long it will take most people to play through the game. As far as Resident Evil 4's length goes, it's actually one of the longer games in Capcom's long-running survival horror series. Most Resident Evil games are short and can be beaten within a few hours for those that have the puzzles and item locations memorized, but the original Resident Evil 4 takes most people an average of 15 to 20 hours to beat. Considering this, fans can expect the Resident Evil 4 remake to take around 15 to 20 hours to beat as well once the game launches early next year. Does the Resident Evil 4 remake have a release date? Yes, the remake of Resident Evil 4 will release on March 24, 2023. The remake is set to stick tightly to Leon's story while allowing for just enough of an expansion to flavor the game for new and returning players. Capcom has been keen to stay true to the survival horror aspects that made the original such a hit with fans. The upcoming Resident Evil 4 remake is going to be about as long as the original Resident Evil 4 was, and while some might think that would go without saying, there was reason for fans to be concerned. The Resident Evil 3 remake was criticized at the time of its release for being smaller in scope compared to the PS1 original and the Resident Evil 2 remake, so some fans have been worried that the Resident Evil 4 remake will go down a similar path. However, Resident Evil 4 remake producer Yoshiaki Hirabayashi confirmed to PC Gamer that the new game will be around the same length as the 2005 original. This doesn't mean that there won't be changes between the two games, though. In fact, the Resident Evil 4 remake is making some rather drastic changes to the experience. As fans may have noticed the latest Resident Evil 4 remake gameplay trailer, the house that Leon enters at the beginning of the game is much bigger this time around, plus there are new events that can happen during the famous village scene. What platforms will the Resident Evil 4 remake be on? The Resident Evil 4 remake will launch on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, S, and PC via Steam. That means it's skipping PS4 and Xbox One entirely. For terrifying levels of immersion, new content is also in the works for PSVR 2. Exactly what this will entail remains unclear. Whether it's the full game in VR or just a chunk of the experience, we're sure it'll be the most frightening way to experience RE4. Of course, this number will be increased significantly for those that try to 100% complete everything that the Resident Evil 4 remake has to offer. Assuming it's set up like the original Resident Evil 4, fans can expect new Game Plus options and plenty of reasons to go back through even if after they've hit the end credits. There's also the possibility of the Resident Evil 4 remake having Mercenaries mode as well. Mercenaries mode, for the uninitiated, is a bonus game mode that originated in the original Resident Evil 4 where players take on the role of various characters from the game as they try to earn a high score by killing as many enemies as possible within a time limit. Mercenaries has not been confirmed the Resident Evil 4 remake at the time of this writing, but chances are good it will be in the game when the RE4 remake release date rolls around early next year. Resident Evil 4 creators' view on a remake. When RE4 first came out on the Nintendo GameCube, Mikami was serving as the game's director and oversaw much of the project. Since then, he's gone on to create games like The Evil Within and Vanquish, which both borrowed from RE4 in many ways. In an interview with VG247, Mikami said he approved of a RE4 remake, saying, "Fans will most likely want it, and so that's a good thing." He added, "It would be great if Capcom could do a great job and make the story better, and put out a good product." Mikami went on to explain that due to tight deadlines during RE4's production, he wasn't able to tell the story he wanted to tell, and hopes that a potential RE4 remake could rectify this. RE4 is hailed as one of the most celebrated games of all time, but more recent entries have arguably told better stories. This is despite the game featuring a superb cast of Resi characters like Leon, Ada, and Wesker. Shinji Mikami also expects the RE4 remake will adopt a spookier tone than the original, and that concepts that were scrapped in the final version could be revisited. The original Resident Evil 4 languished in development hell, going through at least 4 scrapped versions before the devs settled on a final one. As Resident Evil has taken on a more serious horror-focused style in recent years, this could also translate into the remake. After the release of the trailer, Mikami was proved to be correct.